Welcome to Speaking in Spoons with your host, Christina Brookman.
Hi, welcome to Speaking in Spoons, a chronically ill podcast. I'm your host, Christina Brookman, with the handsome co-host, Dr. Nate Strauss, and we are celebrating the month of love. It is February, and with us we have the lovely ladies that started Dateability app, Jacqueline and Alexa Child. Hi, ladies. Thank you for being here today.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So this is Dateability app, the app for people with disabilities and chronic illnesses. I'd love for you to introduce yourselves and tell us more about the app and how it got started.
Yeah, I'm Alexa Child. I am 33. I'm Jacqueline's older sister. I am non-disabled, but I am a fierce ally and advocate and the co-founder of Dateability.
And I'm Jacqueline. I am 29 and I am disabled due to chronic illnesses. Some of my disabilities include gastroparesis, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, and just all of the comorbid illnesses that come along with those. And we really created Dateability out of my personal experiences dating as a disabled woman. I struggled immensely with dating, and it was really isolating, and I felt so alone. But in creating Dateability, I've learned that my experiences are unfortunately not unique, and there was just this huge gap that we could fill.
I think it's incredible. Nate and I, before we started this podcast, I kept teasing him and telling him we should have a podcast called Disabled in Dating, to just share all of our horror stories of trying to date while you're disabled. Uh, so tell us what makes Dateability different from other online dating apps.
Yeah, I mean, besides the mission that, we want the majority of our users to be disabled, although we do welcome non-disabled people to join, we wanted to make it functionally feel like the other apps. So you go on, you fill out your profile, you swipe. Once a match is created, so once two users like each other, they can then message each other. But we have a profile section called Dateability Deets, and Dateability Deets is an extensive list of broad terms like immunocompromised, wheelchair user, food allergy. That goes on your profile. It's optional, but the user selects what applies to them. There's a write-in option, no diagnoses. And we think it's a great way to fix that disclosure issue that so many people, including Jacqueline, felt. And I can let you expand more on that.
I mean, a huge pressure with dating was how was I going to disclose, how and when, and I mean, was I going to be totally honest? Would I sugarcoat it? When would I do it? Would I do it before we met? And so it was so anxiety inducing. And unfortunately, like I tried all of those different options and it was always met with rejection. It didn't really matter if I disclosed just, oh, I'm chronically ill, and so I actually can't go on a hike on a first date. Can we do a picnic instead? Like it didn't matter if it was in that sense or if we went on a couple dates and then I finally divulged more of my medical history, and then they would go and tell their families about me, and their families would warn them not to date someone with complex medical issues. And so that was something that we really wanted to solve, and we've received really positive feedback about the Dateability Deets section and just how people are like, oh, I can be myself. I can just I don't have to go in and worry that someone's not going to accept me, or I don't have to worry that I have to figure out a way to bring humor into this. Like it's just natural and neutral and a part of us, which I really see my disability as just a part of me. It's a big part of me, but it's not who I am. It's not, there's other exciting things about me.
Right.
So,
But it's also not something to be ignored, like you're saying. Like, and I think exactly what you said is something so many people go through, that anxiety, female and male. Like, how do we do it? And also, I think the disability deets is something that other apps could really learn from, because that's such an awkward thing. Like, Nate and I had different experience. We actually met in online dating. And ironically, and he reached out to me. Well, do you want to tell that part of the story, Nate?
Well, I mean, what part of like that I read your profile and you were
Yeah.
disabled and that was interesting to me. So I reached out and we went on a date.
Well,
And it was,
yeah.
yeah, it
You
was
make it
just,
sound so romantic.
well, we went to the movies and then
I
Christine,
coughed through the whole thing.
yeah, we had to leave early from the movie theater.
But then
Um,
I left my Star Wars hat at the movie theater and you sweetly went back for it. So I thought that
yeah,
was nice. And then we became really good friends. And but because at the beginning Nate wasn't out about being disabled. Um,
such a weird way to put that. Okay,
I
yeah,
know.
in the closet.
Well, you were uncomfortable telling people, not just employers, but like friends didn't know that you had multiple sclerosis.
Oh,
But
like when I did disclose it, it was met with a lot of negativity.
yeah,
Mhm.
So I
but
didn't.
and then I think that's common just from a lack of understanding and information. It's something, particularly with chronic illness, it's hard to understand unless you're personally experiencing it or you're around people that do. And my husband actually, like, I've had chronic illness my whole life, but it progressed, and when it got to the point where I couldn't work, my husband left, which I found out is very, very common. Like, statistically, 80% of men leave and 20% of women. So that's why with dating apps, I was just like, I don't want, I want someone going in with full knowledge. What can you share any stories from people that have written into you, from their experience on Dateability?
Yeah, so we launched in October of 2022, and we were just actually made aware of a couple who matched shortly after we launched, and they were long distance. They both have chronic illnesses, and leaving one of them pretty isolated and more confined to the home, and they are about to move in together. And so it's been over a year that they have been dating, and they told us, like, there's absolutely no way we would have met without Dateability, because we live 900 miles away. And it was because we had the location function turned off that they were able to match, and now they've found, they're hopefully forever, or at least for a while.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so, and these, like, we've heard other stories. So one of these, one of our users who has been on since the beginning, and he has been a huge supporter of ours, always checking in, always giving us good ideas. And he has autism, and he happened to match with someone, and she lives 30 minutes away from him, and
Oh, that's
they spent
incredible.
together, they met each other's families, and they are going really steady. And so I really love that. And I mean, that's just two of our success stories. And I know that there's more. And, we've had people who have just made friends, just like you and Nate. Like, they're like, oh yeah, okay, we're not going to date, but I have a friend now. And that's been really awesome to see, because I really don't have anyone with a disability in my social circle. And well, at least, you know, before Dateability. And so it's really nice to be able to just also talk to people who understand. And, you know, we're not always talking about chronic illness, but if it comes up, it's not this like taboo, weird subject that we all have to walk on eggshells on.
Yeah, make that community. I think that's how we feel with the podcast. But, you know, once I started doing things online in general, I started meeting people, and it makes a difference when people just get it. You know, my mom is going through, they thought she had gastroparesis because we both have Ehlers-Danlos.
Right.
And she doesn't have gastroparesis, but we both have motility issues in our esophagus, and she's got some other stuff. So I understand some of what you're going through, and I know good days, bad days.
Yeah, and the catalyst for Dateability really, at the end of the day, was because of my gastroparesis. I've had gastroparesis for, you know, over 10 years. Well, really over 15 years now, which is crazy to think. And then it got to the point where I had to get a feeding tube, and I was really panicked about how that would change my social life, and really in particular dating
and intimacy.
Yeah, and Alexa was also like worried about how it would change our relationship, even though we live together, or, you know, we do everything together. And so when I had reiterated that I just wish there was a place where I didn't have to like overly explain myself or prove myself to anyone, she said, let's make it. And so that is exactly what we did.
It's clear that you found your passion. Like when you talk about it, you just light up, and you're very it's a wonderful thing to see. And I can imagine, what's it like working as sisters together? Do you fight? Do you inspire each other? How does that work, and how do you handle it?
We don't fight, actually. We live together, so it's a lot of together time. I think the pandemic prepared us for that, because we were literally stuck in the house together for what, 3-4 months during the lockdown, when we couldn't really leave, with the exception of like a grocery store trip. But we, you know, it's nice. We balance each other out. We are very similar. We have similar values, but we're also different, and we have different strengths. I'm an attorney, and so, you know, I can be pretty business oriented and think through things from a different perspective. And Jacqueline has an artistic side and has a graphic design experience that I don't have. And so sometimes she can put my vision, you know, bring it to life. And it's just nice to work with somebody that you trust too. You hear of so many horror stories of founders who, you know, they're not related, or even if they are related, families can be really tricky, but we already had a really solid relationship beforehand. And so we just know that this was, you know, I couldn't do it without her. I don't think she could do it without me. And so it is like a really good partnership.
That's incredible. And I think it also, you're doing this from personal experience, and I can see that you're doing it also because of your love for her and her experiences, and that I think it's going to makes this a very special kind of app. And I think there's a lot of things with dating that what's special about having an app, I would think, with people that are specifically dealing with disabilities or chronic illness. There's a lot of things about dating that people don't think are challenging. They're like, oh, like just the conversation of going out to eat, or an activity to do, like you said, hiking. You know, like, you know, everybody wants to hike these days, and like I can't go hiking, and just like you said, or like sometimes the conversation of food can be challenging for people based on whether, you know, what they're dealing with medically. And or just like with me, I have these weird migraines where I'll go paralyzed. So public spaces can be challenging sometimes, because if someone walks in with like a really strong perfume or cologne, like, and I always would have to mention that to a date, please no cologne, because I will just pass out, and then you'll be calling the ambulance. And so that's an awkward conversation to have. But
Yeah, and it's necessary for your safety.
yeah,
And so it's like you feel like you have to do it,
yeah,
protect yourself, but then it's like it just adds like so much pressure to it because it's like you have no idea who that audience is that you're telling.
yeah. Here's
And
my medical cheat sheet with my mom's phone number and all my allergies.
here's my emergency contact. And so it's yeah, it's scary.
Yes.
And we've heard so many people say the same thing, that it's awkward, it's hard, and they are met with really offensive comments and responses. And I just think that, like, yeah, our community deserves an easy way to date. And
Yeah.
people often forget about the 1 billion disabled people in the world. And yeah, we're making sure that people know that we are here, that disabled people do date, they are interested in dating, because that's a very false misconception.
Yeah.
And so we're just trying to change the space.
And how big have you grown? Like, because you are new, so like, are you in every state? How many people are you serving?
Yeah, we launched October 21st, 2022, so just over a year ago. We have over 14,000 users across North America, mostly in the United States and then some in Canada. We hope to expand internationally in this year or at the latest 2025, because we really, we get emails every week from people in other countries and on other continents asking us if we can be available for them. And so that's definitely a goal of ours. But we want to have a really solid following here in the United States first and kind of get our bearings, which we're starting to do. And so, yeah, we're excited. But 14,000 users is something, without any paid marketing campaigns or anything like that, is more than we could have imagined. So we're delighted.
Yeah,
That's
and
incredible.
something that really helps with our smaller user base is that we have an optional location function. So you can search within your 100-mile radius, but you can also just toggle it off and search anyone who meets your preferences. So that has given people the opportunity to make virtual connections and this long distance relationship that has come out of Dateability.
That's exciting. What challenges have you come into creating like an online, essentially?
Yeah, I think one thing that I didn't expect was the fundraising aspect, because we're the only legitimate dating app for the entire disability and chronic illness community. I thought that we would be able to secure funding pretty easily. And I was wrong. One, we're female founders, which can be really hard. Female founders tend to raise a lot less than their male counterparts. And then two, the disability aspect of it, like Jacqueline said, it's the forgotten minority, even though it's the largest minority. And the conversation around intimacy and disability can make a lot of people feel uncomfortable. It is the only minority that you can become a part of at any time. And so I think able-bodied people don't want to think about it. And so they just don't want to entertain the conversation at all. And so that's been really hard. And the other thing on the app side is we do everything: marketing, PR, customer service, technical testing. We don't code or build the app, but everything else we do. And customer service can be daunting. So, teaching people who have never been on a dating app how to use the app via email, like just explaining that, it can be a lot. But we try to respond as quickly as possible, as thoroughly as possible, and we're happy to do it. But yeah, I dream of the day we can hire customer service support, because as we grow, they just, things get more frequent, and it's just us two.
So that leads me to, so what are your goals? You said you want to go internationally, you want to have like a whole underground network of customer service people. What where do you see yourselves in like 5 years, 10 years? What's the dream?
We will become the go-to dating app for for our community, and that, I mean, many people are on multiple dating apps, so that's more power to them. But I think that people won't necessarily have to do the search that they're doing now of like, what is there a disabled dating app? Like, they will just know, just like people know about Bumble or Hinge. And we like to compare ourselves to Grindr, and that they really, I mean, they were the first dating app before any of the other dating apps, and they were wildly successful. One, because it did come from a personal problem that the founder was facing, and it really changed the game for the gay community. And I mean, Pride exploded after Grindr. Like, people were just so much more open about celebrating the community, and they have done some incredible stuff just with, you know, policy and creating that community. And so we really want to follow in their footsteps and make some change.
Minus any scandal or any issues they had later.
Yes.
That caveat.
I love it.
Yeah. You know, because if you think about Grindr, they gave gay men the opportunity to meet safely, and that's what we want for the disability community. And there might not be as targeted and outward hate or bigotry towards the disability community as there is for the gay community, but physical spaces can be unsafe and inaccessible as well. So there's that aspect, and you are facing discrimination online and keyboard warriors and trolls. And so we really want to create this sense of community, this safe place, this understanding. Then you don't have to worry about meeting your date at a place that's inaccessible, because they're already coming with the understanding that there's a need for accessibility, and so they'll choose a place that's accessible. Whereas an able-bodied, non-disabled person on Hinge who doesn't really care about any of that might choose a place that's a rooftop that just has stairs
or
many people can't access,
or they don't even consider asking what is accessible.
Exactly. They don't even open up the conversation. So yeah, that's what we want to do. And in 5 years, we hope that we won't, you know, that people will already know about us. That's the hardest part, actually, is getting the word out, because even though we have over 14,000 users, there's so many people. I'll still see posts on Reddit, Twitter, Facebook groups, like, oh, I wish there's a dating app for chronically ill people. And there is. And so we want them to know about Dateability. So by 5 years from now, I hope that that's less of a problem that we're experiencing, and that maybe we're referenced on some pop culture TV shows, like the way, you know, Tinder is, or Bumble. And so, yeah, I really am excited for the future.
I think that's great. And I hope it also gives, like, you were talking to our community, more comfort in themselves, and more pride, you know, and that disability, chronic illness is absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. I think particularly in Western culture, in a lot of cultures, we fear our mortality, you know, and it's, things are very much hidden. And when you are more physically vulnerable, like, safety is a huge issue. Like, now there are places I would not live for my safety, or go for my safety at night as a single disabled woman with a mobile disability, or a disability where I randomly go down and then I'm paralyzed, and then I'm like, can I trust the person that I've just gone, like, that's scary. So how do you, that goes to my question, next question, how do you vet? Is that you guys too, looking at people's pictures to see if they're real people or they're bots? Like, how do you solve the bot issue that kind of plagues all all dating apps?
It's the whole internet.
Yes. I mean, the bots are out of control on the internet, and that is something that we are battling, but we are tackling it successfully by, you know, creating different methods to block them. We are going through our new user signups and deleting anyone that appears to be a bot or a scammer, not there for the right reasons. And we have a optional profile verification on Dateability, which is similar to the ones on the other dating apps, where you can submit photos, and if those match.
Nate got kicked off.
No,
I mean, he got kicked off Dateability. He was trying to be funny, and this is where I was like, I think it's because they thought you were a bot, Nate. Because he put for his profile pic, he did lots of pictures of Richard Nixon, and he said, "I hope you like my dick pics."
I deleted you.
I kind of figured, like, I didn't think about it at the time, and I made that account a while ago, and then when I started actively trying to use it, then I must have been flagged.
Yeah, you were reported.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, who is adding Richard Nixon pictures?
I laughed my butt off when I heard that, because I would have found it humorous, but
you know we are taking it seriously, and that we will kick people off. And of course, there have been, I've deleted someone who looks suspicious, or they've been reported, and they'll come back and they'll prove that they're a real person.
If they're too pretty, they're probably fake. That's what I've learned. Particularly if someone looks like a supermodel and they message me and I'm like, you're not real, but thank you for the interest in a gift card.
Yeah, you're like, I won't send you a gift card. But
I have no money.
We have like just beautiful people on the app who do get reported, and they are real. And people will say, hey, this person's too hot to be disabled. And I'm like, no one's too hot to be disabled. That does that.
Oh, I don't mean that. I just mean, like, usually hot people aren't on dating apps.
It's so.
But that is not true either. That was a judgmental statement.
We've all said it, but the bots they do a terrible job hiding, and like, it's so obvious. So luckily they make my job pretty easy, and I'm able to remove them. But
and then just remove butt heads like Nate.
Right. We really want to make it like a safe place where people feel safe, and that the other dating apps don't really care if there are bots. Some of them create AI profiles to create more like attractive users. But we're like,
that's
no.
sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's you personally going through, not like you don't have an like IT person. Cool.
Or an algorithm of some kind.
Nope, it's me.
That's got to be exhausting.
Yeah, but it's worth it, because I'd rather go through that than get all of the emails that say, hey, there's bots on this app. So yeah, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, well, good for you. My brain just froze. Do you have any questions, Nate?
Well, where do you see this app going? Like, I know you're trying to hold it in the US right now, but I guess you do see it as becoming like a global sort of for people in the future.
Yeah, we want to expand internationally ASAP. Yesterday, we get emails all the time from people in Australia, New Zealand, Europe. So we want to start expanding to those countries. They're pretty costly. Their privacy laws can be expensive to comply with, and we want to do book. So we're waiting for additional funding and resources to do that.
So that's what kind of you still is the funding's not there yet.
Yeah. And we're still working on that, and we've gotten pretty far with just such a minimal budget, and we're really proud of that. But we would love some of the big money to come in and help us just really scale.
That would be incredible. So just we're gonna put the word out, and through Speaking in Spoons system, we're gonna have our own page for you. So listeners and followers, if you go to our website, www.speakinginspoons.com, on our schedule for the 3rd season, you'll see a button that says Meet Our Guest, and you'll get to see more about the Child Sisters and the Dateability app, and you will be able to go right on and sign on. Do you have any? And it's free, which is even better because that's the hardest thing I think for a lot, like on Christmas, like that's sometimes like once a year I'll treat myself for like a month to one app, and it's not really a treat because it's depressing, right? But it always like fly out, like it always happens around the holidays, because the holidays is when you're reminded that you're lonely and you're single, with all these Hallmark movies and everybody celebrating family stuff. Um, so it's exciting that you guys are doing this as a free option for people with chronic illness and disability.
Yeah, we really wanted to make it so that people trust us, and that we're the face of the brand, and that it is accessible for people, and that means that it's free. And of course, we'll eventually add a subscription model similar to the apps, but we will always have a free version, and we're committed to that.
Well, thank you both so much for being on with us today. And thank you, Luna, for Luna the dog, for joining in as well as we celebrate the Dateability app and Romance Month here at Speaking in Spoons. And stay tuned after this. Nate and I will be back for an after party, and we'll see you soon.
Thank
Happy
you.
Valentine's Day.
Welcome back. This is your host, Christina Brookman, and the co-host, Dr. Nate Strauss, to talk about the interview you just heard about Dateability app, the dating app for the individuals with disabilities and chronic illnesses. So what are your thoughts, Nate?
Well, as a user of the app, there are things I like about it and things I don't like so much about it. I think the swiping thing is cool. You can just swipe, like you don't have, there's none of this. It's more just like button mashing.
Button, yeah.
Which I as someone who doesn't have the most dexterity, I do find that as a positive, because I'll just go boom, 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 boom.
I hadn't even thought of that, but that is helpful, Yeah.
Yeah, but well, I think one of the things I don't like about the app is when you match with somebody, it just feels like the conversation just kind of, I don't know, it's hard to like track it. I find that, like, also the app doesn't always let you know that someone said something, so you have to go look, then you have
Yeah.
to examine and make sure that someone did continue the conversation. So that means you have to click into each individual conversation. I
Right.
didn't like that so much, but that's like a minor inconvenience. And a lot of other apps don't do that either, so it's not something particular
It's
to
like
this.
an issue that's kind of happening everywhere with online dating.
Not
I jumped,
everywhere,
not that, but I jumped back in the I was like, I feel like a hypocrite. We're having the month of love and I'm not even putting myself out there or trying. I was like, I'll try. And um like you, I have mixed feelings too. I think it's like a great idea, that I think a lot of people will really find comfort in, when dating can be very uncomfortable in general, and then when you add the layer of disability on top of it. I think what the problem that the biggest issue that I've had is I'm not as comfortable doing long distance, because I can't drive. Traveling, I don't have the money for, like, to get on a plane and go travel. I'm looking at relocating anyways, but I really have to be very specific about where I can live, because I need public transportation access and things like this, certain resources that not every location is going to have. And so it's like the logical, God, it makes dating sound like an algorithm in a way. Like, let me get out my spreadsheet. Like, do you live in a place that has buses and trains? And but in a way, it's a safety thing for me too. but I think they're still in their infancy. You know, they just started.
That's not a fault of the app. You're seeing, like, you're trying to plan for things that aren't even part of the equation yet. Like, you haven't
Have
matched with
you met
anybody.
me yet?
I know, but just like you're making up things to make things even more, like, you haven't
Well,
matched with somebody, like, so that's like a step after you match. Like, well, how am I going to get around me? But you're saying, like, instead of doing that, you don't want to go through the trouble
well,
because
most of
you're
the
not the
people that
problem.
I've been matching with are like on the West Coast.
Yeah, yeah,
So
it's
that's like
limited.
a huge difference. Like
Yeah,
not like, I mean, I love the West Coast, but it, you know, it's a huge difference, and my support is here. Um, so yeah, and those are things I didn't think about when I was younger. I would up and move like anywhere because, but
well, yeah,
it
this is
it changes when you become more vulnerable. Um, uh, like I am looking at moving, but I'm looking at moving to a city where I know it's going to have better transportation. It's going to have more resources for me, more housing opportunities for me, um, that I can kind of be more independent in a safe way. And that's exciting to me that I'm not dependent on my mom all the time, you know.
Do
Um,
you think an app like this would have some of those things listed, like is near transportation, is near convenient parking, does have disability services in my area? Like, that's something you would like check,
Oh,
like,
that
in
actually
your
is a cool
profile?
idea. Yes, there is Metro here. Like these, like, I mean, I can always Google that, but it's,
Yeah,
I don't know how you really create a like a bond through long distance. But I mean, you've been
I,
doing that with
as
somebody.
someone
Yeah.
who has a friend in the Philippines who is
Talk
my
about
like
it. Yeah.
girlfriend of some kind, although we've never met each other, like,
Yeah.
it's possible to create a level of intimacy with
Yeah.
someone 12 hours away from you
Maybe I'm
globally.
just full. And my cousin, she got married, they met in online dating, like before online dating was a thing, like years ago, back with like
Yeah,
AOL time. And
I've
they had a
my,
beautiful marriage. They were long distance and then relocated for each other.
some college friends of mine met on eHarmony, like, so
Yeah.
it's not unheard of.
Yeah.
She got married when I was like 25, I think.
Okay.
So it's like super right out of college. Like, you don't need to do it, but it was appealing. And she found a great match. Her husband's a great guy. I think he's like a former or in the military, but they looked very similar.
Right.
I think there's something to it. And a lot of people, and maybe you don't find your match, but I don't think that's the fault of the app. I think it's just,
Oh no,
it's,
no. I think
it's luck of the draw.
eventually they'll have more people. Like, and that's like about what the show is too. Like the more people are there, the more choices there are for people, and the more you know, the more chances you have of meeting a match. You know, and they've been doing that. Like they grew from like nothing to like, what did they say, like 14,000 like in just
Yeah.
less than a year? Like that's huge. So
Right. And they said they were focusing in the US, but they didn't want to expand to other
yeah.
countries. And I think it's just gonna, I think the app has the potential to be
Yeah,
big. And
I think it
it's
could be great.
to a niche that's not exactly served a lot
I
in the
would love
dating.
to see like a lot of chronic health, because I know that's why it got started, was the idea of the chronic health. And you know, that's kind of a really difficult and taboo thing to talk about, particularly when it affects things like dietary choices where you can go out to eat, you know, hey, sorry, I
Yeah,
have to keep running to the bathroom. You know, it's stuff
I
that's
can't.
uncomfortable to talk about and embarrassing. And but it would be great if, like, I like that idea of having a community of people that kind of get that, or maybe they're on because they had a family member, you know, that has that, so they understand and they support. Like, to me, that is really cool.
Right. And it's about like meeting like-minded people. I mean, I think there's something for it. I think the app is still in its infancy, and I did
I've met
get to
some
put my,
interesting people, actually.
yeah, no one's replied to my montage, but
No one likes your montage of dicks.
one person applied or said something about it, but then I responded and she never said anything else about it.
Aw,
Yeah, but I don't know. It was a kind of a gambit with my dick pics
you probably
montage.
need better pictures, better dick pic pictures.
There's so many dicks. There's Andy Dick. There's Dick Cheney. There's Dick Van Dyke.
Go with the Dick
There's
Van Dyke. Do not do
Richard
Dick
Nixon.
Cheney.
No, they said in the interview they wanted me to put a montage, so I
As
did a
many
montage.
dicks as possible.
I think there are like 16 dicks in that montage, and then there are pictures of me after it. But
Yeah,
the first pic, the pic everyone sees, is the dick pic montage.
you're crazy.
It's yeah. I mean, probably, but isn't that the whole idea? I need to attract the same kind of crazy, which is probably a gamble
You're
to
putting
find.
yourself out there for someone who appreciates it. I think it's
Yeah,
hysterical. And I think the right person will think it's hysterical too. Um, I love the fact that they're sisters, you know, that they're getting to do it's, it's kind of like us doing it as friends. And they're
we're
getting to, huh?
we're not related. Otherwise, it would have
No.
been, yeah.
Otherwise it would have been a disaster.
No, it would have been all kinds of wrong.
Oh, well, yeah. But but I think it's cool doing that, you know, with a family member, and particularly since her sister did it because she saw, all the problems her sister was having and struggling with in the regular online dating, and they're clearly so passionate about it, about wanting to kind of change the way online dating is for people with disabilities and chronic illnesses, and that is very exciting to me.
Yeah,
We were kind of talking about this before it recorded, but you and I have both said that we get nervous about the idea of dating. We both have mobility disabilities now. Like, we've progressed to that and struggle with the idea of dating somebody else who also has like a mobility disability, which is kind of, going to happen on the app. You're meeting a lot of people with, you know, similar stuff. And, but I also know people who do it and are successful. So let's talk about that a little. Like, what are your thoughts on
I,
that?
I mean, I guess to me, it feels like you're doubling up on something that is already hard,
Yeah,
but at the same time, you're finding somebody who gets it. So I think
yeah,
there's something cool about that. Like what you were saying with Sherry and her husband, they're both wheelchair bound.
yeah,
Or not bound, but they both use wheelchairs. And
right.
there's something, the struggle, that kind of struggle, you don't know it unless you live it. It's
Unless you
just,
live it. Yeah,
yeah. And there's so much like what we go through every day with being tired and struggling to walk and, feeling sick and going to the hospital. Like that's something you don't know what that's like unless you live that.
right.
So I think that is a unique advantage to disability dating, like finding like and you said Sherry wouldn't have found her husband unless she did online. Like it's just people are
I
worlds
think they
apart.
met through friends.
I thought they met through an app.
No, maybe I'm,
I don't
I
know.
think they
I'm
met through
this we
friends, but
interviewed that interview was a long time ago, so I don't
yeah.
we're not remembering it right. But just
But
I
it
think
is,
there's
I
this
do like they both have their own caretakers, you
right.
know.
It's just this that kind of disability, you're not gonna find it in in the world unless you're specifically
Right.
putting out there, that you would like somebody who shares that with you. But I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, dating was hard for me before I got like less ambulatory, and now it's just like I don't even I don't even know where to begin sometimes.
Yeah, that's
I
kind of been
guess-
my thing, like putting myself out there and like I can make these connections, but how would I even like go meet them? Like I have to
Yeah,
ask my mom to drop me off. Like,
yeah,
and
it's
I could do
embarrassing.
that, but particularly for like a first date, like I don't want somebody that I've never met before to pick me up. And right now I'm uncomfortable getting a lift by myself in case I have one of these paralyzing events and then I'm in a car with a stranger paralyzed and unable to speak or see, you know? So,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's why you meet through virtual first. I think being
yeah,
cautious about this kind of stuff, like in the dating world, I think it's always I put such a wall between me and a physical date. Like I used to be all about physical dates. Like that was I would try to get that. Like I was like, let's go meet at a park or let's go to dinner. Like that was
yeah,
my first go to. Like let me just meet you out somewhere. But now that I'm disabled, I feel more I want to see if it's worth the trouble because it is a
right,
lot of trouble. Like so I try to do virtual stuff. I want to call you, I want to video chat you. Well, a lot of that's kind of to weed out the scammer people as
but
well.
it's
Because it's
nice to have that interaction too.
right.
Like I was having this great chat with a guy for several days on a different app. And so I gave him my number and then we talked and totally different than what I was expecting. Um, and, um, but you can't know that unless you talk on the phone and people don't like to talk on the phone. I always joke I miss
Um,
rotary. Like I miss, but yeah, people don't want to talk or get on Zoom anymore.
well, I mean,
Anymore. We didn't have
a
Zoom before,
a lot of people are willing to talk, but a lot of the times, a lot of these people that I don't think are totally genuine don't want to do that because they just want to. I don't know. I don't know what the end game is for them, but they just want to text. And I
yeah,
don't like texting. One, because it's difficult, and
yeah, it
two,
really hurts.
you can't tell who that person is without hearing them and seeing them and
Yeah,
eventually touching them. Like it's just there's some steps to people interacting that you just don't get through chat.
yeah. And it's you can easily misinterpret conversation through chat. Like um I just totally I thought he didn't speak English well, but he was doing voice to text.
Oh yeah,
So like I got it completely wrong. But which
just
I do
another
all the
reason.
time. I because voice to text is so much, yeah, so much
Yeah,
better.
but sometimes the text doesn't understand what you say, and
Not at all. Yeah.
sometimes autocorrect jumps in and changes what you said, even when the voice to text gets it.
Yeah.
And then just messes up the whole like, there's a lot of caveats to voice to
So I
text.
accidentally sent somebody that I loved them because
I've never
autocorrect
done that.
changed it. And I was like, no, can I like how do you reverse a text?
What did it
But
say before?
I can't remember. I just remember the trauma of seeing love go through in text.
Oh, that's weird. Like, I
I
don't
think it
know.
was live or something or laugh or like it just
I I live you.
no, it just changed like it changed the phrase. Autocorrect is evil.
All right. I agree. I agree. But yeah, I just as far as the app is concerned, I like the app. I think there's a lot of growth there, and I think there's a lot of opportunity there. And I think it was nice to see two sisters working together because you don't
Yeah.
see that kind of dynamic a lot. And the fact that they're doing it all by themselves is even more impressive. I, I just heard that one girl going through the app by herself, kicking out bots, kicking out scammers, and just kind of filtering it. Like I thought was like an algorithm. I think most of the bigger dating apps have algorithms
Right.
you know, to filter people, but she's going through hand by hand letting people into the app, and I think that's commendable. And I feel good about at least being on it. Like, at least I'm putting myself out there, although it's kind of, I don't know. I think it's different, men and women on those apps, because I think you get a lot more business than I do. Like, I feel like it's every so, like, I'll get like a conversation every so often, especially what I loved about OkCupid is I could just mass message people, and that would hit, like, if I got a hit back from it, then that would mean that person would want a conversation. But if I liked people, one, I don't think girls really pay attention because they get so much traffic that it's hard for them to see when someone likes them. And then the conversation, like the chat, is the one thing that triggers them to say, oh, maybe I should put some interest and look at this person.
Right.
But when apps don't offer that, it kind of, it throws a lot of the men into this, like, we're not even going to bother looking at your profile because we don't see it.
Ah, I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just because the dynamics, I think, between men and women on those apps is very.
I've noticed a lot of the guys don't read it all though. Like I'll match with people and then like I'll send them a message or something and I'm like, oh, you finally read the part where yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think women have a lot of trouble with that too. I think it's just the whole like the whole like game of dating. It's just so different between the genders, and now we have like, it's gotten even more complicated because now there are more than two genders, and also like, and you layer disability on top of that. It's just so crazy.
Well, well, and I think you hit it when you said game. Like it shouldn't be a game. It should
It is a
but I think people treat it like they treat shopping with this swiping.
It is a game. Life's a game. I think everything's a game in some respect. I mean, the game of life is the most serious game because it has the most risk. You know, like, it's life or death.
Yeah.
Most dangerous of games.
The most dangerous of games, mind blown, mic drop.
But dating is a game. Dating is a game, but we're playing for stakes that we don't really like. It's a game in the sense that we are, animals play this game in their mating with each other, mating dances and stuff. They put on a show for their potential mate, and a female will
Is that a
pick.
game or is that communication? Like
It's a
like
game
by
in the
game,
sense that
I
it's
think you mean messing with each other. Do you know what I mean? Like the people that are
oh,
just
no, I
like,
mean,
oh
like,
no, swipe,
game is in contest.
Okay.
We're playing for your affections. As men, we have to, that's why they call it peacocking in
Yeah.
dating, where men wear something that kind of makes them stand out, you know? But I mean, the peacock does that, like, that's why it's called peacocking, because that's what the peacock does.
Oh, I know. The giant.
But that's a mating. That's a game. That's a game. Because if the female doesn't, but it's just, I don't think animals think about it as a game. And I don't think humans necessarily have to think about it as a game, but we are playing,
Well, and
like,
women have to peacock too, because I think that's what inspired her so much with this app. Because when you're a woman who isn't necessarily like the trophy, like that the guy can take to the business party or whatever, because you're gonna bring a cane, or you might like have to be like, no, I can't eat that, or you're constantly going to the bathroom, or you're in a wheelchair, like you're not the representation that men are wanting to necessarily present. And not all men, I'm not saying like all men, but even nice guy, like I don't blame men, like particularly young men who want a family, want things, like you see certain things and you think, oh, that can't be possible, and I can't have kids, so I could not provide a guy with that, a family, and that like a biological family, which is very important to a lot of guys. Like I think sometimes it's more important to guys than it is to girls. Because I would be fine with adopting. Now, I can't adopt a small child. It would have to be a school age child, like an older school age child, because I like a young child takes a lot of physical work that I just can't do. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they'd let you adopt a small child as well. Like, it just because you're not capable of
well, by
caring for that.
myself, no, but I mean in a relationship. Yeah.
Right. I just,
Yeah, I would
but I mean,
drop a baby. That would be bad.
reproduction is the name of the game. So if you take that out, then the game becomes something else.
Yeah.
But still, you're still playing for
Companionship.
relationship, companionship. You're still playing for
Yeah.
that. And I think there's something, that's difficult about that. And I think there's something like if you're sharing that part of your life, like I believe that us dating is as a vulnerability in a lot of
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
But that's the price of
That's what it
playing.
is.
That's the
Yeah.
cost of admission to the game. So you're probably going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Or
But
you will.
I think
You
it's
will get
worth
hurt.
it. I
Yeah,
think
I think a lot of this.
companionship,
Yeah,
meeting people. I've met great friends through it. And
you know.
I'm excited for this app. I think that this is going to be a really great thing for people. So I hope
Yeah,
that the people listening and watching will go out there and sign up if they're not already, because it could be a great, who knows, maybe you'll meet your person that's going to get it. And the
yeah,
more people that sign up, like we said, the more chances are that you could meet that person.
yeah, yeah. And the more people on the app, the better the numbers are for you and I.
Yeah. That's really why we pitched that. Just kidding.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us. And later this month we'll be having Matthew Shapiro from Six Wheels talking about his personal story with disability, cerebral palsy. So stay tuned for that. He is also involved with the Dateability dating app. So he just wasn't be able to be here at this interview. So we're very excited for his story and to share that with you. Stay tuned and save your spoons.
If you want to contact us, please send a DM or email to speakinginspoons@gmail.com with any stories you have or would like to interview with us on any of our upcoming topics. And check out our website for all of our upcoming episodes and what's happening in the Speaking in Spoons community at www.speakinginspoons.com. Thank you for listening to Speaking in Spoons, and have a great day.